Hello there, welcome back to another episode of Strife's Talking Points. I just finished one video, and immediately upon getting out of that video and coming back to reality, I found this. This story has been out there, but without any sources, it's actually being kind of suppressed overall. So if you're not looking for it, you won't find it. GOP Senator Josh Hawley takes aim at big tech's legal protection with new bill. And before I begin, I would always like to say, thank you for listening. Please like, share, comment on the video. It really does help me understand what people think of the content. Even if it's negative, give me some criticism. That really would help me at all overall. This is a uniquely breaking story because it is covered in a dozen ways. Top headlines: Fox News, GOP Senator Josh Hawley takes aim at big tech's legal protection under the bill. From another group here, GOP Senator, new bill would force Facebook to publish Nazis. Oh my God. GOP Senator introduces a bill that would blow up business model for Facebook, YouTube, and other tech giants. Another headline, Senator Josh Hawley's bill, big tech companies would be liable for harmful content. And all this rolls around the idea that they are currently a platform, not a publisher, which if you're on YouTube, you kind of understand these companies are acting as publishers. They've got a set of rules which they don't enforce the way you think or the way you think they should. They're just moving on this here. And from the Washington Post, which I will not cover because I don't really like them much, the Technology 202 big tech's legal shield is increasingly in jeopardy with this Republican bill. So first off, we're going to take a look at Think Progress, one of the first stories I covered. Read the headline with me. GOP senators' new bill would force Facebook to publish Nazis. The First Amendment must be scrapped because conservatives don't like it. I've never heard something flipped upside down that much. If you're discussing freedom of speech and the First Amendment right now, a lot of people covering that refer to that as a right-wing argument. Freedom of speech is a right-wing thing. However, they're saying that conservatives are trying to destroy the First Amendment. And in this article, I'm going to go through it just briefly. Senator Josh Hawley, Republican, Missouri, a Christian nationalist, a Christian American, and the youngest member of the United States Senate, proposed legislation on Wednesday that would effectively appoint a panel of government central planners to monitor content on sites like Facebook and Google. The bill, which violates the First Amendment, purports an effort to foster political neutrality on major internet platforms. Which violates the First Amendment. Now, that is a pretty impressive thing there, including, here we go. Its practical effect, however, would be to prevent these sites from disfavoring any political viewpoint whatsoever. That's actually what the First Amendment does. You cannot censor a person's right to speech. Political speech, harmful speech, disagreeable speech, offensive speech are all protected under the First Amendment. So Think Progress is looking at this upside down and trying to mislead people, including potentially viewpoints that are explicitly genocidal. Hawley named his bill Ending Support for Internet Censorship Act. That's from Think Progress. Here's Business Insider. Their headline reads, Facebook and YouTube could be held responsible for the toxic swamp of content on their platforms under explosive new bill. A Republican senator just took a swing at Silicon Valley by introducing a bill which would make tech giants like Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube liable for the tide of harmful content they are currently struggling to hold back. It is really difficult to see now. Mainstream media which has been calling for the censorship of these sites, is now going after someone who's trying to quote unquote censor these sites. Senator Josh Hawley introduced a bill Wednesday which would propose removing tech companies' protection under Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which prevents them from being held responsible for any illegal content posted on the platforms by users. Now, Under Section 230, it's the protection that affords most carriers, most platforms from being sued for content on their site. So let's say a carrier, let's say Verizon, AT&T, they cannot be sued for someone using their cell phones in a way that the government doesn't like, that people don't like. You can't sue them. You can't go after your internet provider because you found harmful stuff online. It is not their responsibility. They are the platform. They are the carrier under this act. So as long as they're not trying to, and they don't, generally you see them not really enforcing a lot of stuff. You see them trying these bandwidth manipulation to kind of push people to their sites, but by and large, you don't see them acting as censors. When sites are blocked, it's because that site is illegal and they have the court order to do it. CNBC, their headline: GOP senator introduces bill that would blow up the business models for Facebook, YouTube, and other tech giants. Again, all these things sound so bad. And we're going to use a little bit from CNBC before I actually move on to the next one. The idea of limiting Section 230 immunity has earned bipartisan support in recent years, as these companies have struggled to keep offensive and illegal content ranging from terrorist propaganda to foreign influence election meddling off their platforms. Repealing the immunity provision could force these companies to use an editorial system where every piece of user-posted content would have to be vetted for illegal or libelous material before it's posted, instead of relying on algorithms and human checkers to scan it after it was already online and had a chance to spread to millions of people. This would fundamentally alter the business model of companies that depend on huge volumes of user-generated content, including big social networks. Skip down to a quote. With Section 230s, tech companies get a sweetheart deal that no other industry enjoys: complete exemption from traditional publisher liability in exchange for providing a free forum of political censorship, said Hawley. Unfortunately and unsurprisingly, big tech has failed to hold up its end of the bargain. So, is YouTube allowing free forum, a free, unhalted dialogue between people? Can you go on Facebook? Can you go on YouTube? Can you go on Twitter and express political beliefs without the, not people giving you backlash, but without being banned, shadow banned, blocked, deleted? No, you cannot. If you have a political idea which is not in what the political desire of the platform of the publisher is, then you have your stuff removed. So take a company such as a major publisher such as the New York Times. They have an editorial staff. They have people who read the stories, vet the stories, and even if they are completely incorrect, completely political bias, the New York Times chooses what to release and they go through. YouTube, Facebook, Twitter take user created content and then they filter out the things they don't like. So you have currently the YouTube demonetization. You have the Vox adpocalypse where YouTube is randomly demonetizing creators without any information at all. One of the channels I like to watch every now and again, Black Pigeon Speaks, his channel was completely removed. There was no notification to him. He had no guideline strikes, no warnings, nothing. Removed. Borderline content, the overall mass demonetization that's going on YouTube right now. No information about who, why, where these things come from. I believe over time YouTube will slowly remonetize the people it likes, while however demonetizing the people keeping the people it doesn't like demonetized and further censoring them. I'm a tiny channel. I cover stuff I find interesting, and generally these things are hot topics. Some get more traction than the others, but hey, been doing this for a couple of weeks now, so not expecting a huge turnout. Now here is, sorry, I forgot the site, Washington Examiner. Ending immunity for Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube would result in more censorship, not less. Every time I see this, I always think that these legacy media companies truly don't understand what is going on as far as on the internet with these different groups, with YouTube, with Twitter, with Facebook, of how people are communicating with each other directly. And once you remove the gatekeeping option, it's just a free-for-all. Everybody gets to say what they want, and if people dislike it, they dislike them. If people like it, they like it. And no one on the editorial board at New York Times, at CNN, at MSNBC, at Fox News, at Washington Post, at the Examiner here, no one gets to tell you what you can and can't listen to. If you like someone's opinion, you can listen to it. One of the more recent things that's been going on is the legacy media censoring digital media and these newer groups. What is YouTube without the content creators, without the tens of thousands of hours put in by these creators, these thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people who've driven YouTube to where it is, and they're just getting cut out because these major news sources, these authoritative sites who really don't have a clue what's going on. The legislation takes direct aim at Section 230 of the Communication Decency Act of 1996, which grants immunity for social media platforms from liability lawsuits stemming from content posters by users. That comes with the idea that these social media platforms would be platforms. They are not acting as platforms. If, let's say, you have a platform, unless the content is illegal under US law, you wouldn't remove the content. You would have to leave it there. Allow the users to downvote it, to ratio it, to debunk it, to go through it, to take it apart. But no, that's not what's going on. They are choosing to be editors. They are publishing their own information, taking people out of the loop. A number of conservatives have argued that social media sites are increasingly making editorial decisions. We see this on all platforms all the time. What happens if Google doesn't like you and your business? You won't show up in searches anymore. You can effectively take a lot of your revenue and just throw it out down the toilet. It's gone. That exhibit the characteristics of a publisher, which thus should end their immunity. Yes, if they are editorializing, if they're deciding what speech they like, what speech they don't like, they are no longer platforms. With Section 230, tech companies, that's again that sweetheart of a deal. We're going to skip down here. To the extent they allow news or political content, it's likely to come from legacy media who the tech giants know themselves to have to guard against the potential of lawsuits. Mainstream media has been one of the reasons these tech platforms, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, have taken off, because people don't believe what they're being told anymore. Lawmakers will no doubt take some time to look at whether Hawley's certification approach would pass constitutional muster. But from a policy perspective, it's awful. That's the opinion section, so there we go. Partisan control of the FTC changes from administration to administration, and there's no objective criteria for determining political neutrality. So this would leave decisions about political content on social media up to the arbitrary judgment calls of federal regulators. Now, that to me is kind of the argument we're having in the entire country as we push more towards these large government socialist programs, is people who truly dislike the government are saying, let's make it bigger, let's add more things, let's increase the government, let's vastly expand the government's reach into people's lives. And then they push back against this, which to me is upside down world. I get that conservatives are frustrated about the bias shown in decisions to ban or suspend users, but this response would only lead to a more restrictive speech code. Now, I don't know anything about the Washington Examiner, so we're going to do real quick. We're going to click on the headlines. Yeah, I'm going to say this is a left leaning just from reading the titles. Why Don Lemon fear lost freedom under Trump, but not Sanders, Harris, OC. Elizabeth Warren is claiming the liberal rock star status she ceded to Bernie in 2016. Breaking up tech should be hard to do. Yeah, I'm going to say that the Washington Examiner is going to be a more left leaning news organization. But there you have it. You have the first of many, I'm sure, people dropping hints at big tech, because there are current investigations going into these tech giants about how they handle their business, about how they're monopolizing, and about how they're censoring people. So what I'm interested to see is what your opinion is on this. Do you think that platforms, if they're forced to editorialize, let's say Facebook, which has 2 billion users, now falls under an editorial establishment as a publisher instead of a platform, what would Facebook do? Would they immediately drop their shadow banning? Would they immediately allow access to the site for anyone? Would they then be forced to open up the gates and let everyone get on Facebook regardless of your political ideology? Granted, you would have people on there. You would then have Nazis on Facebook. You would. However, you would also have these people out in the open where you could see them, where you could read their ideas, where you could disagree with them, where you could make them feel dumb, because a lot of this fascist ideas, a lot of these high-end ethno-national socialist programs that you see would be torn apart in the public domain. If you're allowed to debate directly with people like this, if you're allowed to see their ideas and have people talk about it, that wouldn't be harmful. I mean, the whole idea of this harmful speech that we've gotten onto in the last few years, the hate speech idea, where there is no definition of hate speech, it's just something you find offensive. Everyone finds something separate offensive. You only hear the ratcheting down of free speech from the left, and now that a GOP senator is going to basically force these places to either fully editorialize, which they're slowly starting to do, or to break loose and become platforms again. I don't know. I find this a super interesting story. This is something that I'm really wanting to see. Oh, here we go. This is from Business Insider. Stripping big tech of its protection under the CDA has garnered in popularity on both sides of the aisle. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi told Recode Kara Swisher in April that tech giants were abusing the Section 230 privilege. It's not out of the question that could be removed. You're seeing this becoming more and more prevalent. Please like, share, comment. Let me know what you think. I find this is a big story directly related to where you're watching this on YouTube, on the internet, because that's the only place I publish, because I'm a tiny guy sitting in his office in his house. Let me know what you think, and have a great day.